what's up? This is TJ. Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to be installing a brand new mixer into my studio. It's a huge upgrade. It is a Yamaha TF5 32 channel digital mixer. This is going to be a huge upgrade for my studio. It's going to allow me to individually record all of the gear that I have here, all the synthesizers and guitars that I do use for the live jams that I post on this channel. So we're really looking forward to that. Before I would always post those, but they would already be pre-mixed down to just two channels stereo, and I couldn't really mix them thereafter. So now I'm going to be able to mix them post-production and give you guys even better quality with the videos going forward. So I'm very excited with that. And also along the way, I'm going to give you something that has been requested of me several times, and that's a quick studio tour. Now, I've been always reluctant to do that in the past because what you see in the studio now may not be there tomorrow. I'm always making changes, but it'll give you a chance to take a look at what I got going on. And also, I'm going to talk about, how to set up such a larger, complex system such as this. If you like the videos that I do here, though, you got to share them. You got to subscribe. Your support is very much appreciated. And please do check out tjontheroad.com for more. Enough talking. Let's check it all out. All right, before I can show you the new mixer, well, we've got to take out the old mixer. This is a Behringer Eurodesk. I believe the model number is SX3242FX. It is a 32 channel fully analog mixer, although I do believe it has digital effects. And unfortunately, it is in need of repair. Channels 12 and channels 13, or channel 12, channel 13, the preamps no longer work on it. It had an electrical problem with it, with another piece of gear, so it needs a repair. Now, taking this out without getting a replacement is really not possible because I couldn't run this channel anymore, so that's why I've decided to upgrade it. You'll see here that almost all the channels are taken up with all the different gear I have. I've even labeled all of the wiring to where it goes so that when I do the new installation, I already know where everything is, and I should hopefully just be able to plug it in and get it working right away. All right, we got the TF5 all set up on the stand. Now I know what you're thinking. TJ, you mounted it backwards. What the heck are you thinking? Oh, but wait, let me show you a little trick here. Ready? Dun, 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 dun. Check it out. Now, the Behringer mixer, one of the nice features about that is that it was top loaded. And that meant it was easy to pull things in and out. But this is rear loaded. Now, most guys would probably get a patch bay and wire that all up. But that costs a lot of extra money, a lot of extra time, a lot of extra aggravation. So, I got one of these. It's like a Lazy Susan that they use for TV sets and other AV equipment. I use these a lot for guitar amps where I need to get behind the guitar amp, and I just rotate it around. So, it's great. So, I don't need to have a patch bay. I can get to the back of this anytime I want. All right, well, looks like I've got it all wired up here. Couple things that I have done. One, you'll see that I have labeled everything. This is one of the most important tools I have in my studio. Labeling everything really does help know where everything is. If you have to troubleshoot anything or make changes, labeling the inputs, outputs, all the cables on both ends makes a huge difference. Makes it a lot easier to run the studio, especially one of this size. Now, another thing I've done, you'll notice I changed the stand. I had it on the second tier of the other stand above my matrix brute. That's the way I had the Behringer. This weighs a little bit more, not that much more, but it is kind of wider, broader, more bulky, and it didn't look like it was very safe there, so I changed that out. So now it's all wired up, all like that, so I can just bring that all back around. Okay, it's the moment we've been waiting for. Let's turn it on. Got it here plugged into my rack. Got a switch over here. Let's see what happens. Oh, ah, wow. Bright lights, Yamaha logo. Probably going to take a little while to boot up. And I'll have to take some time to configure it, I'm sure. So rather than me doing that here in this video, why don't I just show you around the studio? All right, I'm going to give you a quick studio tour. Remember, what you see here today may not be here tomorrow. I'm always making changes, but I do think I'm a little bit more settled with what I've done with the studio. Put a lot of work into it over the last year or so, so I'm very, very happy with it. Let's get started. All right, first we have kind of like my command station. This is my main desk here. This is where all the videos are edited and all my questions on YouTube are answered and so forth. All the forums, that I go on. So let's take a look at this desk and see what's on here. Right here we have a Tasty Chips Electronics GR1 granular synthesizer and a Kodamo Essence FM, one of the great new FM synthesizers. The controller here is a K-Board Pro 4 from Keith McMillan. And what I've done is I've got it on this custom shelf that I made where I can actually slide the K-Board underneath when I just want it out of the way. There we go. Over here is a Noodler NDLR from Conductive Labs, the really, really cool arpeggiator. And down here we have a low box for my guitar amps, 2 notes, Torpedo Live. And this desk is very, very cool because it is actually a lifting desk. When I play guitar, I like to stand up and play, particularly when I'm recording. So this desk allows me to do that. Put it back in position here. All right, moving on. We have the Waldorf Iridium. I've done many, many videos on the Iridium. I really, really like it. It's an awesome sounding synthesizer with so much sound and design potential. Over here, this is something new. Some Moog semi-modular synths that I've been experimenting with. You've got the DFAM, Drummer from Another Mother, the Subharmonicon, and the Mother 32. Really having a lot of fun with these. So they're here right now, kind of like as I mess with them, but they'll probably get moved over to the other side of the studio when I get real settled with what I want to do with them. Coming over here, we have a Roland TR-8S. This is my main drum machine. Really, really like that one. And that's going into my MX1, the Roland mixer. And you'll see there's a lot of stuff going into the Roland mixer right now. Also, the Moog semi-modulars were going into there. Into here, as well as my Arturia Micro Freak. I like the monos to go in here because this has some very cool effects. Next, we have a Prophet 12 desktop and the awesome Polybrute down here. Now down here, this is a Kurzweil. Let's see if we can get the model number over here. It is an SP4-7. I really just use this as a controller. I do like the keyboard action on here. So the audio is not really hooked up. It just has some basic, rompler type sounds in it. But I mostly use it just as a controller here. Moving along, we have, again, the Micro Freak. And then the Roland JDXI, which is also plugged in to the MX1. Very, very cool sounds coming out of that little synth. And down here we have the mighty ASM Hydra synth. Totally innovative digital synth. And right next to it, a totally innovative analog synth, the Moog Matriarch. The monitors are KRKs, and I use these when I'm working on this side of the studio. Now down here, I have my wind synthesizer. This is a Roland Aerophone Pro. Really enjoy playing that. Up here, there it is, the mighty Yamaha TF5. That thing is a beast. I got to back up to get that in there. And below it is my Matrix Brood. Coming over here, these here are Turbosound floor monitors, actually from my live playing days. I'm not really playing much live anymore. There's another one on the other side. So these are probably going to go soon. Down here is my main rack. Okay, you have the main power coming in here. There is a UPS power supply that is before this to back that up. And the switches for the lights and other gear. This is an Echo Dot. Down here we have the iConnectivity Myo XL. This is where all the MIDI goes through for all the keyboards. And down here we have an Apollo and an Arrow from Universal Audio. Now in the old system, the Behringer used to go into here in the 2-track, and that's how I used to record it. I still will use this for microphones as well as for diff input for my guitar modelers. Down here, both the Apollo and the Yamaha TF5 will now be going into this radial key Largo little mixer here, and that'll split it up to the different monitors, the KRKs and the events I'm going to show you in a minute. This is the brains of the operation. This is a Mac Mini with all of the crazy cable connections and backup drives and the USB hubs. Coming up here, on the top here, I have another monitor that mirrors the monitor up front. So when I'm sitting on this side, I don't have to crank my head to see what's going on. We have these event monitors. These are Project Studio 6. I've had these for years. I really like them. They sound great on both sides. And here is a Pro 3 from Sequential, as well as a Sequential Prophet X, the monstrous sounding synthesizer with all its sampling, loading capabilities. All right, and then over here, yes, I do actually have underneath here a patch bay, but I've never used it. I probably will set this up though for the Yamaha, just because, well, I don't always have to turn it on all the time. This is, again, one of the most important pieces of equipment in the studio, the labeler. And here is pretty much an empty rack. Not sure when I'm going to go in there. God only knows. Down here, this is my guitar floor modelers. You have a Boss SY1000, Kemper Stage, and a Fractal FM3. The Fractal FM3 and the Stage are SPDIF capable, so that's how I usually record those. The Boss SY1000, that's going to have to go audio into the Yamaha, although it does record via USB as well. Not sure how I want to set that up. All right, when I'm not recording and I just want to rock out, I've got these two Mission IO calves that are wicked cool for guitar. Back over here, I've got a bunch of amps. I'm probably going to be letting go of these amps. I just really prefer the modelers. I sold off a couple of them already. And over there is some guitars. Now, one thing I want to quick talk about is, how to set up such a large system here. Now, I don't want to go really in deep how everything is all set up. That's probably worth a whole other video in and of itself. But, when you're putting in new gear and or you're changing out, one piece for another, you always got to consider all the connections that are involved and how you're going to be able to get all that in your studio space. And you got to have what I call studio headroom. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean audio headroom like you normally have it, but it's actually the capability to hook up all the gear and have enough, ability to get it all in there. So you really have about 4 or 5 different things you have to consider. You got to consider power, right? So you got to make sure you have enough power running through the studio, and make sure that power is clean. Very, very important. There's nothing that sucks more than ground noise or other noise that can creep into your system. A UPS power supply and clean, filtering, powering, such as the Furman, that gives you that is very, very important. Don't skip on that. The other thing you have to consider, well, is audio. You got to be able to hear it, right? And you got to be able to mix it. So that's why we spent so much money and we're invested into that Yamaha TF5. The other thing you have to consider is MIDI, particularly if you're using gear that is, obviously synthesizers and so forth. You've got to be able to distribute that MIDI and control it from both a controller standpoint of view as well as a, computer standpoint of view from your DAW. And then you have to consider USB. Now, MIDI and USB are sometimes intermixed, so you have to consider what you're going to use one for or for the other. And sometimes when you plug both in to particularly a MIDI-controlled synthesizer, you could have conflict problems with that. Generally, what I do is that if the synthesizer has an editor associated with it, I will use USB for that. If it doesn't, I'll use MIDI for that. And that allows me to split it up, and it allows me to, make sure that there aren't as many conflicts potentially. Now, if you remember, I had that USB hub. USB hubs can sometimes be problematic. You want to make sure that you get one that is a powered hub, and you want to make sure that it's plugged in directly into the main bus of your computer, and that will hopefully eliminate most of the problems. And also, USB has problems with grounding issues. I have ground isolators on all the USB outs of the computer. Very, very small but important little investment so I don't get any ground noise in my system. Now, the last thing that you may want to consider is some computers have, specialized drives associated with them, say, SD cards or thumb drives, that type of thing. You want to make sure that you have enough of those lying around to load into your system, and then be able to take them out and load them easily into your computer. So, when you're talking about setting things up, you want to be able to do all that kind of thing, and you want to set them up in an ergonomic way so that you can get to this stuff very, very quickly, and it's not really hard to work. All right, well, that's it. Thanks for joining me here on my studio tour and setting up my new Yamaha TF5 mixer. It's probably going to take me a couple days to really learn it, configure it for the way I want to use it. So stay tuned to this channel. Please subscribe. I'll probably post another video about that coming soon. Again, thanks so much for watching the video. Share, subscribe. Check out tjontheroad.com for more. I very, very much appreciate your support. I'll see you next time.